So good morning. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to our distinguished panelists. It's a privilege to moderate this panel with you. I guess it's no surprise that this is a challenging time for the China-Hollywood relationship. There's a lot of uncertainty right now in terms of we've seen a cutback in financing. A lot of deal making has dried up, and China's box office has slowed considerably. And yet, China remains a hugely valuable market to the major studios, and we've seen movies continue to do huge business in China thanks to the growth of the film market there, the rapid expansion of the theater industry, and a burgeoning middle class that seems to have a very strong appetite for the kind of movies that Hollywood makes. At the same time, China has had success this year with its own homegrown film industry, movies like Wolf Warrior 2, breaking records. But despite this success and the growth of the film industry, we haven't seen Chinese movies break out on the global stage and achieve the kind of success that one might expect. So I wanted to start this discussion with just a simple question: why haven't we seen more examples of movies that have succeeded globally in the way that, say, Crouching Tiger did 17 years ago? And are there cultural explanations for that? I don't know who would like to field that one.
I guess I'm going to be the first one. You know, I think we have to set a historical framework for two things. One is Hollywood and the kind of films that it's made over the years and the kind of dominance it's had of a world market, that it built up a world market over, if you really start to think about it, starting in the 20s going forward. You know, the various companies started distributing films and making films in various territories over the years. And that's been a long history. China, on the other hand, was called a hidden kingdom for a reason, and there was a curtain on it until, actually, if you really think about it, World War II, when they were attacked by the Japanese, and that was actually, even though it had a film culture, it had a very small film culture. It's grown since, and it continues to grow. And China entering into the global market really is certainly after World War II, not before World War II. It is also a distinct culture. I mean, there is a difference between what is considered to be Western European culture and Chinese culture. And they're very different. There are no things that basically, while it's about people, and that's what movies are made for, people of all ages, there is no mold to make a movie. There is nothing that says, if you make this movie with all these ingredients, it's going to work. That is absolutely not true. It's not. It has a better shot at maybe breaking even, but it has to be sui generis, a really good movie. It has to be something that audiences are going to want to see. And without it, there's no reason to go out and spend the kind of money that people are spending now advertising these movies, when they spend no less than $50 or $60 million just to open a movie in this country. So that makes no sense. So the question about how both of these cultures can come together, if the Chinese are following the American model, they're going to lose. If the Americans follow the Chinese model, they're going to lose. So they got to come up with something new and fresh, and that's the key.
Well, there have been some ambitious, at least one ambitious effort to kind of bridge those cultural differences and create a co-production that would kind of set the template going forward in Great Wall, and that movie, as you know, did not do as well as hoped for globally, even though it had international cast, acclaimed director, Chinese director, and backing of, major financial backing from Universal and Legendary and others. So why did that film not succeed, and can any lessons be drawn from that? Peter, do you want to?
It wasn't good.
Okay.
That's a fairly simple answer. The truth of the matter is they're trying to follow the mold, and you can't follow a mold. That's the point. It said, hey, you put an American actor, a well-known American actor, in a story that is really traditionally a Chinese story, and there is no interest either in China or in America. It didn't cross over. You probably have some answers to that too. So.
Well, we have our own co-production in the pipeline called The Meg, slotted for release next summer. And I think that the single biggest goal from our perspective was not to make a co-production or to make a Chinese film that could play for the globe, but just to make the best movie possible. And it just so happened that there were organic elements of the story that felt appropriate to have Chinese characters and Chinese locations as a part of the creative process. But Mike and I have had this conversation numerous times just about the difficulty of trying to build a project in reverse to try to hit the specific requirements that will allow it to get co-production status. And from our perspective, the goal was to make a really great action shark movie. And it just so happened that this one had very relevant creative elements that appealed, that we hope will appeal to Chinese audiences.
I guess this touches on another question I had, which is, what works and what doesn't work in China. We've seen films that are big hits here that don't do as well as one might expect in China. The Pixar films come to mind, and also films that don't do well in the U.S. that actually do quite well in China. So, is there any thoughts on what makes a movie successful in China as compared with the U.S. and what that says about the differences between the two film markets? Perhaps Mr. Wang might like to address that.
我首先同意刚才几位谈到的啊，其实关于文化这种事儿啊，文化审美和文化认同，就国际环境上来说，很多方面呢，大家是有认同的，是有普遍的意义的。但是各国的由于自己的成长、自己的文化的特殊性，可能会有一些差异，这也是正常的。就中国的市场来说的话呢，就从中国的传统文化上来说，其实我觉得咱们的各位大公司，如果有兴趣做在中国市场上可以行得通的片子，可能应该研究一下中国的评书艺术。我不知道咱们知不知道评书艺术，在中国上过学的你应该知道。
还好吧。
这个评书艺术啊，它是几千年了，啊，中国还有一个情况，其实呢也应该获得咱们的关注，就是中国的电视剧艺术，它本来呢在中国的产生呢是脱胎于电影的，但是呢在前20多年里边，中国的电视剧艺术几乎妇孺皆知，皆谈象艺。成为一个大众的文化消费的一个艺术，而这个艺术的最本质的，从形式上到内容上最核心的东西，它是把评书艺术给转化了。所谓评书艺术的话呢，它就是说线性的，有故事、有人物、有情节、有开头、有结尾，它并不太复杂，也不一定是复合性的，这里边它悬念、冲突、矛盾，它全都有。那么在中国的话呢，可能是这种类型的文化艺术比较容易让民间、让老百姓去接受。当然，在这么多年里边，我们也有益于好莱坞的很多制 制作，也更新了我们的很多制作观念，特别是使在审美接受方面，我们也能够接受好莱坞的很多片子。但是刚才说，为什么有些东西在美国很看好或者很期待，到中国反而不像所预期的那样？甚至有的时候在欧洲也好，在美国也好，好像一般的东西，到了中国之后反而能够去爆发。其实这种情况我们也发现了，包括在中国的一些小说、戏剧、舞台艺术，包括一些影视的东西，在我们看来可能一般，在欧美反而火了。或者在我们在送相关的电影节的时候，我们也有很大的期待，好像反应也平平。这里边一定是有它的文化的差异。当然，我们都知道，现在的意义，更重要的意义不在于我们知道有这么一个文化差异，关键是在我们做某一个特定项目的时候，尽量的找到它的文化差异可能是哪儿，这样的话可能更有意义。谢谢。
In this challenging environment that we're in right now, what is the role of a foreign studio in a local market, and how do you add value on the ground? Adam, maybe you could speak to that, since Warner Brothers has a number of initiatives.
Sure. So from our perspective, I think the biggest question is ultimately because there's so many resources in China, so much money, there's now so much expertise and know-how. We are always asking ourselves the question of what is our real value on the ground? How can we be value add to our partners? And I think it just comes down to potentially having an opportunity to add value through the production process, through the creative process, ultimately through distribution. I don't think we want to put ourselves in the shoes of saying, as foreigners, we know how to tell Chinese stories, but we certainly want to orient ourselves as being truly value add to Chinese storytellers. And so for artists, we want them to feel comfortable working with us, working with our resources, with our relationships, to be able to say, if you are working with Warner Brothers to tell a Chinese story, then it will be your story, but maybe told in a way that Western audiences might appreciate it, or we might be able to distribute it to Western audiences, or we may be able to lean on some of the things that we have learned how to do well for the West over the course of the last 90 years and try to introduce some of those elements. So even just this week, we're hosting a program with some Chinese talent who are in town for all the activities going on this week, where we can have some exchanges between our executives and Chinese executives. And so I think that the goal is to just come back to this question of what value can we add in the marketplace, and just trying to emphasize those elements.
Peter?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I've been doing this for about 50 years, and I saw it all emerge when Europe was a minor market, and Americans made films for themselves, their market. And I think the idea is when you try to address yourself to every one of these different markets and put all the components in that satisfy every market, you make a feathered fish. It just doesn't, and it stinks. And I think you have to make a decision as a filmmaker, putting aside a studio situation. It wants to manufacture films in different territories for that audience, local repertoire. Oh, it's all local repertoire. That's fine. But as a filmmaker, you've got to make films that you feel are good, that you care about, that you believe you can create an audience for. You can't aim for this global market. You have to aim for the hearts, not their wallets of these people. And if you make a film that really resonates in the hearts, and then it travels well, that's what a filmmaker has to do. The idea that I'm going to make this, film for the whole world is an anomaly. You don't speak every language and every culture. And as soon as you change the orbit of your action to that, you're aiming for a transaction, not a relationship with the marketplace, not a relationship with the audience. And so I think it's important that there's a distinction between the filmmaker who has a film, a producer or director or writer, who has a film in their heart that they want to express to the market, to the world. That's what they should do. They shouldn't start the other way. I want to make a film for the whole world. And I am going to be able to understand what all these cultures do and work and how they consume films. And I'll put an actor from each, remember you used to do that with the Hollywood films? I'll put an actor from each country in so I can sell it. And I'll do a little bit of language in each of those films. And then I'll sell the film.
You get the feathered fish.
You get the feathered fish. And I think there is a distinction between a company like Warner's who wants to be a force on the ground to help that, when I use local repertoire, that those countries develop their film industry, develop their audience, develop their creativity. That's one business. And for us filmmakers, people that make individual films, we have to be true to ourselves. We have to come from inside out, not from outside in. So I think that's a distinction worth pointing out.
You know, the difficulty is that it is an art form that is also a business. So the question always is what is the art form, and and how do you make that into a business? The problem that has existed in America for the time, Peter and I have both been in this business for a long time. Both of us around 50 years. And we've seen a transformation in the business. And we know that it's constantly transforming, just like our lives are constantly changing. We're never, stopping because everything is being transformed. I mean, I've seen the transformation from the time that companies came in and bought into Hollywood. Sony, for example. That's a very important piece of information. Sony bought, and Peter was there, and the chairman of the company. Sony bought into Hollywood, but what they did was they invested in the company and the people in it to run it. They didn't run it. They didn't try to decide which movies got made. They never told us what movies to make. They left it up to us to decide, for Peter and myself and some of the other people who worked there. Now, we were interested in making films that worked worldwide. We knew that if we didn't deliver the financial results, we wouldn't have been there. We would have just been cashiered out. That doesn't answer the question about what it is now. That was an example of the fact that Sony bought into the Hollywood system because they were trying to use their hardware and figure out a way of using their hardware and the software that was being done. That was a hardware company, if you remember. In this case, what you have is what I get a lot of from China is, hey, I'd like to invest in a really big, expensive Hollywood movie. And I'm going to use the word now, and maybe some of you will recognize this. I want to invest in Avatar. Now, there is no guarantee, I'm telling you this right now, there's no guarantee that Avatar is an absolute success no matter what, because it's going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to cost a lot of money to market it. So that isn't the answer. That doesn't answer your question about what you should be involved in and what you should accept as films that work in China. The public will tell you what works in China. They are the final arbiters of what you make, not you, not anybody else. I mean, I just finished my 325th movie that I've been involved with, and I have to tell you that 100 of them have really been great, 100 in the middle, and 100 somebody should have taken a gun and shot me before I thought it was a good idea. So, that's the dilemma, that's the problem that we all have to deal with. And we have to be honest with each other. We are not, we're not seers of everything. We do the best we can under the circumstances and try to put things out there that the public will like, not that just the, people who put up the money, because it's important for them to get their money back, and we know that.
I wonder, given what happened to Wanda and how they've pulled back on their global ambitions, if maybe there's been too much focus on trying to create movies that have global appeal. Maybe the focus should just be on developing movies that work in China. I mean, it is a vast market. And maybe there shouldn't be so much attention on, to your point about trying to make movies for the global marketplace. I also wonder with what the contraction of Wanda and the pullback from Hollywood, that generated so many headlines, where that leaves the future of co-productions, and if that era is over. Peter, you just got back from China. I think you talked to folks at Wanda without divulging anything in conference. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of capital available, and when you think of American companies trying to be profitable, that's what they're interested in. They're interested in bottom line profits. So they see this market in China, where there's 1,500,000,000 people. So they're going to deploy their capital in the U.S. companies are going to deploy their capital. And they think to themselves, way in the very beginning, when they're looking at a script or looking at something, a piece of material, they're saying, how will this travel? When he and I grew into this business, you thought about how would it do on the west side of New York and Hollywood Boulevard. That was it. Because the other part of the world was called foreign, which happened 6 months later. The reason why they called it foreign, because it was foreign to all the executives in the company. And it represented a very small piece of the ultimate box office. Now, it represents 3 times the domestic amount of the box office. So a company having a $500 or $600 million overhead looks and says, I got to hunt where the elephants are. They are seduced by the fact that that market is so big, they have to aim their content and satisfy their ability to deliver that audience. That decision is made in the very beginning. It's not made when the film's all done. When you walk in with the film, it's a local repertoire, U.S. type talk film, they look and think, the only place it's going to play is in the domestic markets that's already being cannibalized by long-form television. So what happens is they try to manufacture a film that will do just that. And it has to be a big film because they got to return big money to cover their overhead. Huge overheads. These companies have hundreds of millions of dollars of overhead. So they're encouraged in the early part to give these products, these script products, early on to the people in their international department and say, one thing, how much can this do? And those international markets come back and say, A, B, C, D, they add it all up. If it doesn't match a good return on investment, no matter how good the film feels domestically, they don't make it. And, you know, the idea is there's a whole strategy around what we're talking about. The strategy is, can we cover the cost of our overhead and get an ROI on our company, investment in capital and film? That's the business they're in. You may call it the film business, but these are public companies. They're in that business. All the high and mighty feeling about, esoteric feeling about film and storytelling and everything, they are interested in one thing. Show me the money that that film's going to make. And it's calculated before they make the film and before the decision. That's the conundrum we face now. How do you deploy these companies, deploy their capital so they get big return on investment? And so this is what the struggle is. Do we aim at these markets singularly? Do we aim at these markets, you know, collectively? And I think that's still to be seen. I still think the idea is you got to aim here if you're a filmmaker. If you're a studio, you got to aim here where the wallet is, and you got to always use this, what your head is, to make it work. And if I knew the answer to that question, I'd just make hits. Wouldn't that be great? I could just make hits.
You've been told once.
Yeah, I was told.
Yeah.
The Japanese said to me, we went.
How come we don't make hits?
No, it wasn't even it was a better story than that. What happens is that we went and presented all the film of the repertoire of 2 studios to this big company, 32 films. And we went through the whole portfolio, and we said we'll have 8 giant box office international hits. We'll have 8, big domestic hits. We'll have, 4 cash break-evens, and we'll have 6 flops. And the CFO of the company stood up at the end and said, Guba-san, why do we have to make the flops? And I think, oh, what a great strategy. Just make hits. Why didn't I think of that strategy? End of discussion.
I think it's not surprising that Peter and Mike know what they're talking about because they've been doing it for a long time. And the one thing that I would just add to Peter's comment is that from the studio's perspective, obviously, we do exactly the process that he just described. I mean, he probably developed it himself. But I think the only thing, we can't control how good the movie is. the only thing that we can control is to make sure that we have the right people in place and that we have the right process so that decisions get made well, filmmakers feel like they're supported, that they can tell the story in their hearts, and that the executives that we have, whether they're in Burbank or in Beijing, are familiar enough so that they know where to avoid the pitfalls.
You know, it goes to an interesting thing. Filmmaking is a very collaborative process. It takes a lot of people to make a film. I mean, I've just finished something, there were 1,000 people working on it, right? I mean, and every single one of those people have to do their job really well for something to work. Because if one of them screws up, if the cinematographer screws up, or if any piece of it, the director, the actors, the wrong actor for the wrong part, I mean, it's an intricate process that makes it whether it's going to be good or bad. And by the way, there's almost no control, because once the train is moving, it's moving. And there's no way, and it's a lot of money involved, so there's no way you can stop it. If you look back at the history, as I was saying earlier today, you know, Hollywood was basically invaded by the banks in the 1960s, late 60s. And it started taking over companies, like Transamerica bought United Artists. Paramount was bought by Gulf and Western. They changed the business. In the thing that Peter was talking about, the amount of money that one has to recover. When you're sitting down in a company and you go, in order for us to break even, not even make money, we're going to have to recoup $500 million before we say hello, because we're opening the gates. And that's what it costs. And I'm using that number. It's a floating number because I don't know exactly what it is now. But that's the problem. It doesn't go to answer the question that's really on the table today. And the table is, how do we make movies in a cooperative way between China and the United States that benefits both cultures, both that is important for both cultures, at the same time answering the question is, hey, how do you not lose money? This past year, from what I understand, $6 billion was invested in China into the American film market, or into the American market. And I think that's the correct number, and I'm sure somebody will correct me. And that they've lost $3 billion out of that money. That is not going to infuse a lot of people coming out of the woodwork to invest money into companies. You have to know what your investment is. You have to know why you're making it. You have to understand why you're making it. In an era in which globalism is now threatened, this is a very important question. There's changes all over the world. So we're aware of it. We're sitting here. We're aware of it. Peter and I are not running companies anymore, so we don't have to think about being polite. So
You were never polite.
I tried to be honest and straightforward. Yes, that I may have been wrong, but that's possible too.
As you both talked about, Hollywood is, of course, facing its own set of challenges right now with rapid changes in consumer behavior. Young audiences aren't watching movies as much as their parents did, and linear TV as well. And we've seen a kind of cannibalization of long-form content by episodic content for the small screens, such as Netflix, Amazon, and HBO. How are these shifts playing out in China? Would either of you gentlemen like to address that?
对，这几年不仅仅是你说的这几部电影，就是很多的美国电影在中国都受到了中国观众的喜爱。 那个原因是什么呢？我的理解是，就是好莱坞的电影的做法，它是考虑的是全球市场，已经把中国的市场考虑进去了。所以呢，就中国的观众比较爱看。这几年呢，就是为什么大家就是中美的这个电影的交流和论坛越来越多，关注中国的电影市场。原因很简单，就是中国的这个文化市场这几年这个发展的速度特别快，所以呢，有更多的人会关注这个市场。就是有一个数据表明啊，中国的文化产业，整个总收入占它国民收入的总收入的5%左右，美国呢已经占在30%以上。中国的电影从电影这一块看呢，是持续了10几年，持续在增长。所以呢，中国的文化市场的增长的空间还是非常非常大的。要是达到美国这个市场，就是文化产业占它整个总的国民收入的总产值到30的话，这个中间你想想有多大的空间？所以我认为就是大家去关注中国电影市场肯定是对的。中国的电影市场的发展，文化市场的整体发展，它不光是给中国带来了，就是我们这个行业做电影、做电视、做文化行业的带来了好处，它为全球的电影也带来了好处。就这个市场增长了嘛，市场空间发展了嘛。所以呢，就是我是建议哈，就是大家要更多的去关注中国题材的东西。所以有很多的咱们6大的机构在中国都设有分支机构去关注这个市场，原因就这个原因，因为它的空间还是非常非常大的。但是有一点什么呢？就是要做一个好东西还是很重要的。就是为什么有好多电影，像前面几位老师说的，有的电影你下了很大功夫做出来以后呢，可能未必能够打动观众。就是有些东西呢，就是没有那么下功夫做出一个东西，就是打动了观众的心。实际上你就是说明这个题材就是观众喜爱去看，就是能打动他。但是有些东西呢，你就是花了很多钱，投资很大，做了一个很大的一个电影，结果观众就是没有进入他的心，就是没有打动他的心，他就不爱看，就不买你这个单。你花了再多的钱跟我没关系。所以这一点在中国电影市场这几年反应特别明显。除了美国就非美地区以外的电影，像印度电影，像这2年又出现了印度电影，包括像其他的泰国电影，在中国一些就制作很小、投资不大的电影也能打动观众，这说明它就让你就是做出来符合中国观众想看的东西。所以呢，就大家我觉得还要去研究它，研究这个市场，就是中国的观众喜爱看什么样的一些东西，它文化还是有差异的，就东方文化、亚洲文化和欧美文化还是有差异的。所以呢，我们要去联手，我们一起合作去做一些能够打动中国观众和全球观众的东西。这也是中国的众多的制作公司想做的一件事。因为我是做制作的、做投资的、做电影的，所以我们也这么想。中国这几年就是电影市场，被这个整个文化市场，包括电影、电视剧啊，被资本市场给推动起来了。所以这个时候，就是中美这些制作机构，我们更应该联合去把这个市场做好它，就获得大家想要的这种市场收益。中国的上市公司现在有近70家，仅仅有70家的上市公司做文化传媒行业，这个市场还是很大的，体量还是很大的。所以呢，就这几年，就包括我们也是上市公司，所以呢，就是大家都想去做好这件事。我们也特别希望能够寻求美国的这些就是大的有经验的制作机构和中国一起联手做，我们公司也愿意去合作。谢谢。
这个里边啊，
你说，
对不起，你先。
我就是想问一下王总，从你的角度来看，你在寻找一个西方的伙伴，刚才提到了，你会考虑什么样的特点，或者想找什么样的公司，有什么样的优势来选？
当然，这个是就什么呢？就是 作为中国的公司，肯定希望做一些有中国观众爱看的中国元素的东西，就是不是纯好莱坞的，就是站在就是好莱坞的角度做一个就是全球都爱看的一个东西。当然，中国观众很重要，我们有中国的公司肯定想做一些有中国元素的，更多中国元素的，就中国观众更爱看的东西。这些呢，就是需要好莱坞的制作公司能给一些就是一些建议啊。因为好莱坞的制作还是非常成熟的嘛，它在全球是在特别电影方面是全球引领的。就中国的公司也非常谦虚，非常愿意来进行学习，一起去做大做强中国这个电影市场，包括电视剧。就是华纳你也有电视剧，我们电视剧做的也很多，所以呢，就是不管是电影还是电视剧，我们特别愿意和美国的公司一起合作，把中国的市场做起来，做大做强。谢谢。
它实际上是这样。首先你
Well-
得有钱。OK。
Have to have money? I think, yeah. You know, we talked about the Great Wall as being an example of the kind of movie that they were looking for an answer to the question about what movie would fit both the Chinese as well as the American element, right? So that, and not only China and America, we cannot think of, and Peter will tell you this, we think globally, and you have to think globally. You cannot think of just, I mean, if you want to make films for the Chinese market, make films for the Chinese market. Put the money in, and I'm sure American companies would be happy to join you if they think it's going to make money. They're looking for the money, as Peter said. They're not looking for anything else. They're not looking for, somebody asked me actually, the head of a studio said to me, hey, I'd like you to make some movies in China. I said, I don't want to make movies in China. I've already done that. I've already done movies. I want to make movies for the world. I want China to make movies for the world. I want America to make movies for the world. I don't think there's a formula, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. There is no formula. There is something we can learn from each other. I need to know about your market and what works there. You need to know about our market, but you need to know about the rest of the world too.
You have to remember one thing. I come back to it all the time. The central component is a filmmaker. The central component is the initial creative impulse of that filmmaker and that story. When all is said and done, that's what's up on the screen. Nobody shoots the budget. Nobody says, hey, let's go down to the Wanders Theater. I heard a film came in on budget. Or let's go down and do this because it's going to play well in China. No, it comes from the impulse of the creative person making the film. That's honest and true and aimed and executed in that means for that manner, not a manufactured product. If it comes from the inside out, where it resonates, it will resonate. Where it resonates, it will resonate. As soon as it becomes a manufactured product, the audience smells it. I could have told you Great Wall. I was sitting there in China when they were talking about the Great Wall and Thomas Tull was waxing. It already had the stink on it of trying to make a film that was a project. It was talking at those markets. It was designed. At the end of the day, each of these films are separate little businesses, big businesses. They're separate whole things. There is, what?
There's no mold.
There's no mold. There's no one answer, one secret sauce. And it's changing. It's effervescent. So if you come from the place that you're building an industry the way you are in China, helping to build it, and support filmmakers there to make films that mean something to them and the markets and the ideas and the filmmakers they want to address, that's a really good strategy for a company. But as a filmmaker, as an individual filmmaker, financing our own films or being made, you have to come from that singular impulse inside. And the audience can smell it at 60 miles an hour on a rainy, foggy night that you're aiming for their wallet, not their heart. And that's just, I believe that's central to all films. People go to a movie They don't just go to movies. They go to a movie. And in America, that's definitely the case. There is no more audience that, let's go to the movie on Friday night, any movie on Friday night.
Yeah.
No, they go.
It's too expensive, actually, believe it or not. It's getting too expensive to go to the movies here. And they get it on their phone. My son, who's 19 years old, he sees most of his stuff either on television or on his phone. They see, they're able to get Hulu, they get Netflix. I mean, they get all that stuff. They go to the ball games. They do other things. There's only so much time. Years ago, I went to Davos, and I think it was at the World Economic Forum. And for the first time, I met Gates and a whole bunch of people. And they described the world that was coming. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, this is amazing. It's going to change all of our lives. But more importantly, it's about time. How do you manage time? How do you get to go to the movies or go do something with your family, go out to a restaurant? To go to a movie today in America, it's almost $100. By the time you park your car, I mean, a lot of people don't have that kind of money.
Well, that point is very well taken. At the end of the day, it's all about storytelling. It doesn't matter the platform or how the content is distributed. We have time for maybe a few questions from the audience. Could you please, can we take the question over here? Okay.
So the question is the climate completely different now? Is the government intrusion, the government demands affecting the ability for cooperation? And should we just concentrate on making the Chinese films specifically for the Chinese market and making ourselves for the ones we understand and let the market decide, the audience decide?
Okay, maybe
What's
Mr.
successful?
Wang could address that. Did you understand the question? There was a multiple.
他是问中国的管制会不会给中美电影节的这种合作带来影响和限制，是这意思吗？
他的意思好像是，从中国政府管制的角度来看，最近几年有没有一些改变？因为他感觉之前管得太严。
你们没觉得一直在改变中吗？改变了好几十年了，啊，当然这个改变你们能不能够认可，这是另外一回事儿。其实我觉得刚才大家谈半天啊，这里边有一个现象，我不知道在座诸位都注意到没有？文化差异本身是存在的，我们谁也不要试图去改变它，毫无意义。就像我们在好几十年里边。我们认为非常漂亮的女孩，在你们这儿好像很一般。你们非常喜欢的女孩，在北京大街上，老外带的中国女孩，在我们看来长得特别奇怪。这种体会，我们很多中国人全都有。所以从那个时候开始，我们就会觉得，哦，文化是不一样的。你们可能会认为那个是美，那个是东方的美，啊。还有一个现象，我们也都应该去正视它的。在好莱坞发展的好几十年里边，至少在中国还没有引起你们高度应有的关注的时候，你们做的很多片子，中国人也依然会关注，也依然会喜爱。那个时候你们并没有刻意的要把中国元素放到里边，对吧？很多中国的传统文化，我们在产生它们的时候，也没有考虑好莱坞美国人会不会喜欢，但是你们也会非常热爱它，甚至在家里边要供着它。这里边说明一个问题：文化本身，不管哪个民族的，它文化它产生了，它并且被多少代人、被岁月、被年代、被历史淘洗过了，它存在着。大家都会对他有一份尊重，所以在这个里边呢，包括刚才大家举到的一些例子，包括你们老反复的在提到长城哈，我们不好谈具体的篇目啊。我们也发现一个现象，无论是我们要针对国际的哪个电影节， 专门特别使劲的去做个片子，往往有的时候不但电影节没认同，回过头来在国内放的时候，大家也不认同，也不知道他做了个什么，啊，就这种例子非常多，包括好莱坞的片子。现在我们看到很多片子里边，我们也会觉得大家会欣然一笑，非要弄点中国元素搁里边，也不管需不需要，也不管合不合理，非要弄个中国人、一个中国事儿或者一个中国的地方，就特别小儿科，不像好莱坞，不像我们心里边觉得你们是前辈，你们是做得非常好的啊，反而呢使用了一些很儿童的方法和思维去做这件事儿。我就是想说，好好做自个儿的片子，啊，不要在做某一个具体项目的时候，要特别急功近利的把哪儿的哪个地区的哪个民族的一些元素搁到里边去，它非常生硬，它什么也不是了，不伦不类，啊，其实呢，民族和各国之间的这种文化的交流，在于我们是好朋友了，你了解我了，我也了解你了。在你做这件事儿的时候，你自然就已经这个基础你存在了，自然而然的、非常巧妙的、非常有机的把它融合起来了。这个东西它才有生命力，才是个合理的东西，而不是拼凑出来的，否则一点价值都没有。我不知道我说的对不对？听听 China。
That is the key. A film must be authentic. Is what he said. Authentic to its target. When you try to think you're going to talk to all these targets, you don't even know most of the U.S. market. You don't even really know how different it is across the middle of the United States. You're going to tell me what you know about Chengdu or Xi'an or China? The idea, it's so difficult, even if you're born in America and you live in America in a singular part. I've been doing it all my life. To not really know what the audience wants. The only thing you really know is what you like and what you feel is good and what follows your authentic creative impulse. And so the idea that I'm going to talk to a global audience of 2.2 billion people in every language and every culture all over the world is absurd. It's totally absurd. Again, it's aiming for their wallet.
Crouching Tiger, by the way, which we were at Sony at the time, was a total, or maybe I wasn't, but it was a total surprise. And it's a traditional Chinese movie invented by the Chinese, created by the Chinese, and it worked everywhere. It was a film that worked in it's no language barrier, no nothing. So you have to think that as a model. That's true of every film I've ever been involved with. I never knew. I didn't know Cuckoo's Nest was going to be a hit. Every film that I've been involved with that won the Academy Award, I couldn't have told you that was going to happen.
Well, on that note,
You're
thank
not-
you very much.
If you're not aiming for here as a filmmaker or a producer or a director, if you're not aiming for here and you're aiming for here for the wallet, that's called a four-letter word, a flop, for everywhere in the world. All right? And as soon as you try to add in all those little elements so that I'm going to aim for everybody, you are making a flop. You should sign up for a flop. And so the idea is that's true unless you're building an industry, helping build an industry on the ground with, local national filmmakers talking to their audience. And then if you get lucky and it is so authentic and so unique and so valuable and it travels the world, that's the great benefit of it. But the idea that you're going to speak to 7.5 billion people, most people can't speak to the 2 people in their family. How are they going to be able to speak to 7 billion people?
On that note, I think we got to wrap up. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your thoughts and insights. Thank you.